Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Massachusetts Central Radio Show. I'm your host, Mike Camo, here for the Gear Change Show. I had to do a practice run, and I figured we're always gonna screw up once in a while. My audio screwed up, so maybe it was good. I did a dry run because I messed up like a billion times during the first part of the audio. So hey everybody, welcome back to my neck of the woods. I'm your host, Mike Camo, here for Entry 02, and it's the Gear Change Show. Hello everybody, and welcome. I promised you guys the story of two cars from the collection of, the automotive history that is Roger Penske. So for those of you who don't know who Roger Penske is, but those of you who've been living under a rock, the man what can I say about this guy? He has I think he has 500 race victories or something like that. He's on the cusp of 500. I think he has 17 Indy 500s, 14 national championships. He's won dozens of races around the world. He's won of V8 supercars. He's won IndyCar. He's won Daytona. He's won Sebring. He's won just about everything under the sun as a driver. He's raced everything from Porsches, Ferraris, Corvettes, Camaros, and anything on four wheels he's raced. So, including building his own Indy cars during the 80s and 90s, with the Chevy Ilmore V8, replacing the DFX that was not very good, and he wanted something better. So I'm going to talk to you guys about two cars in his history. First one is the 917-30, the one from 72 to 74, and then the Porsche RS Spyder, which lasted from 2005 to 2008. Both cars were very successful when they won many races. Both of them were very successful against bigger, stronger opponents. They were two paradoxes, actually, from one different time. The Can-Am car, the 917-30 was a Can-Am car built in the 70s. 5.4 liter twin turbo V12, 800 kilogram car. The Porsche RS Spyder, 3.4 liter, 800 kilogram car, 800 plus kilogram car, designed to kill the big LMP1 prototypes of the mid to late 2000s, and then to kill the McLarens was the job of the Can-Am Spyder. And knowing Penske, he knew the unfair advantage, so he knew what to do. He built these monsters of their time. They had advantages in fuel consumption, and not fuel consumption for the Can-Am. They had advantages in power, weight, aerodynamics, and all the different ways you had to do to compete your opponents, because figuratively in the 70s, Penske had to figure out how to beat the McLarens, and then he had to figure out how to beat Audi, Acura, Lola, and Peugeot with the RS Spyder. He would be successful on one or two attempts to beat the Peugeot 908 and the R10, although he would beat the R10 many, many times. So, and the Audi R8 before it retired in 2006. So I'm going to start with the 917-30. So the 917-30 was based off a 917 PA Spyder Can-Am that was supposed to have a 16-cylinder engine, but it never did. It got 12-cylinder, 5-liter, no turbos, about 650 to 700 horsepower. It was obviously aimed to beat the McLarens. It failed, unfortunately, because it didn't have enough power, and I think Porsche was running it, and some teams over here were running it, and it didn't go so well. So Penske took it in, and I think in 71, he came up with the 917-10. The 917-10 did many, many things. First off, it was what he decided to do, what he felt he needed to do. So what he set out to do is he wanted to beat the cars with half the displacement, more power, and a design that probably is still iconic till today. I mean, these things look like spaceships compared to what we have today. Today, it's commonplace to have a car with wide angles, big engines, and all that other stuff. It's not really it's great. These things were rocket ships in their own right. In fact, they were downright dangerous. For those of you who do not know Can-Am racing was basically better than maybe most Formula One race. Like, these cars were way better than Formula One. Formula One couldn't even touch them. If they went head-to-head with Formula One back in the day, they wouldn't be able to touch them because they were so brutally powerful. I mean, these cars had, on average, these cars had 8-liter, 8.5-liter, 8-liter to 8.5-liter V8s, producing somewhere in the region of 850 to 900 horsepower, and they weighed like 600-700 kilograms, 650 to 700 to 800 kilograms. These things were rockets. These things could do 60 in like 2.5 to 3 seconds. They could go 100 in like 6 or 7 seconds, and they could go like 230, 240 miles an hour. So, well, they went 210, 220, but when the Porsche 917s came along, that's when things started to really. So the 917-10 was successful, won races and everything. But so what they did, so what Penske did is Penske said, I'm going to make the car way less. I'm going to give a smaller engine, and I'm going to put turbos on it, and I'm going to do something that hasn't been done. Turbocharging wasn't huge back then, and a lot of people knew that it was a relatively new thing. I mean, it only been, some turbocharged cars have been around some turbocharged and supercharged cars have been around the 30s, the 40s. The Mercedes-Benz Silver Arrows, and the Silver Arrows and the Auto Union Silver Arrows. For those of you of a certain age, it's like 500-600 horsepower. But these cars took it to the extreme. Those bodies on those Silver Arrows were not very aerodynamic because they had wheels that would create turbulence. They were able to go 180, 190, but very difficult to control. Not saying that the Porsche 917-30 and the 917-10 were difficult to control, because what Penske did was he basically put a swooping body. This thing basically did this little front shovel design. It's basically went the back end. It basically flat sides, then swoop down, and then it cut down. This is before aerodynamic splitters and stuff like this. I mean, he had even brake ducts in the front of the car. This is before Penske was before his time with everything. He was kind of space age. He just knew where to do it. So what he did is he took a Porsche 917 engine, bored it up to 5.4 liters, stuck 2 turbos on it, and sent it on its way. In 1972, 1973, 1974, the overall boost for a race was between 1100 and 1180 horsepower. In qualifying, it was between 1200 and 1580. 1,580 horsepower. Can you believe that 750, 800 kilogram car with 1,580 horsepower in qualifying trim? It was terrifying. It was so fast that it left Talladega at like 220 miles an hour. That's how freaking vicious these things. The stock cars of the period couldn't even touch that. The stock cars, the ones that have the big bodies on them, big V8 American muscle cars, America, NASCAR. We're gonna go around in a circle, about 200 miles an hour. Well, these 220 on a track that is famous for 200, but which is famous for a lot of speed records, including Bill Elliott's Thunderbird doing 212. 220 was a lot for a car back then. Imagine it doing 240 miles an hour in some of the big some of the tracks like Riverside, not Sebring, Bridgehampton, Riverside, Mid-Ohio. I don't know if it went to VIR, but I'm pretty sure it went to all the big tracks. And these cars would lap very fast. They would go on some of the big tracks where they were allowed to breathe and run. They would go 220, 230, 240. The biggest thing was that body. And having Mark Donohue at the wheel, before he died, having Mark Donohue at the wheel was actually very, 72, 73 was actually very big. The only thing that really killed the 917 was fuel consumption, because if you guys are not aware, 1972, 73, 74 was when we had an oil crisis. So Can-Am cars went away, and it was, then it kind of was kind of a fitting end, because McLaren kind of left with their tail between their legs, because McLaren came with the M series, the M6, the M7, the 8, the M9. These 900 horsepower beasts were no match for these things. They were able to go around the same speeds, but they were brutal. They were also very heavy. They were all hard to handle. A lot of accidents. I think people got killed some of these races. That's how brutal this was. So they did very well to promote that series. I think it went from like 65 to like 74, 75, and I think it died out. But Penske was very smart. You remember, this is the guy who used to acid the Camaros and the Pusher V8 at Indy and the Ilmore V8, and he used to build his own chassis. He even took stock chassis like Marches and Reynards, and he made them into his own, like the Rainsky from like the Rainsky from like 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. For a Champ Car took over and basically messed up the kart. You know, the kart was dead anyway in like 98, 99. So this is coming from a guy that did that, and this is from a guy who used to put acid in his cars, put the fuel rig up top, up so high that it would be able to force feed the thing, because gas is gravity fed. Crazy stuff, and Mark Donohue was crazy driving it, but he had fun. He drove the wheels off those cars, and he had a grand time with it. But as I said, the oil crisis kind of curbed that, and they couldn't run them because America couldn't have 900 horsepower, 1,300 horsepower, or 1,580 horsepower Can-Am V8. They actually made the cars run 4 miles to the gallon just to save fuel. The Porsche would only get 2.5, so they couldn't enter the series, so Penske had to quit. He had to go to sports car racing, and I think he lived out the rest of his sports car racing worlds, and I think he ended up becoming a team manager 100% full-time, I think 74, 75, and he pretty much came up with the racing dynasty that we know today, 500 wins later. So Penske did a very good job. He was amazing. The reason why I know it was a Penske car is because it had that really iconic paint job. It had the red and blue, and red and blue is Penske's color. So that was that car, and that was an amazing car. And it took him nearly 30, I think it was like 40 years to announce a new one. So in 2004, the Porsche guys announced there would be a car called the RS Spyder coming out in 2005. It wouldn't come out till later in the season in 2005, but it would be here to contend with, Lola, Audi, and every Dyson Racing's Lolas and stuff like that. Because Penske saw because what Penske looked at is he looked at the rule book again, and he says, I'll make a lighter car, lighter engine, and I'll find an advantage. I'll develop the car over time. So the Porsche RS Spyder was basically another genius thinking. He figured out all the angles. He said, I want an open top car. I want a small, high-revving V8 that's going to be efficient, and I'm going to make sure I can modify the aerodynamics and stuff like that to make it faster, stronger, and more reliable. I remember watching it debut in 2005 at the the Monterey Sports Car Series, Sports Car Championship Series, and I remember it winning over the Lolas and the MG Lolas and all the Courages and the MG experimentals and whatever that came over. It even beat a couple of the LMP ones that couldn't really cut the mustard, over here, like the Zytec that Hunter Shimoda and Tom Sheldon, or whatever his name is, or Gordon Shedden, whatever his name is, ended up winning. You know, it's really set the world on fire, and they gave Lola, Mazda, and Courage, and Pilbeam, and all those other manufacturers, and Acura, which would come later, something to think about. 2006 is when 2006 is when it would really get good. Now, the one thing I like about the 917 and the RS Spyder is there's a little bit of a lineage there. The front ends slope down and swoop a little bit. If you guys want, I can't really do any images here because I get copyright, fortunately. So the Porsche RS Spyder had a nice little swoopy. The headlights were about this big. The car was so low to the ground. I saw it in person for the first time in 2007 when it was redesigned. The car was low to the ground. The car is about where the top part of my bedspread is. Maybe just before my there's a under pad, and then there's the mattress itself. It's about near the beginning of the mattress. They're that low to the ground, and they sound like a V8 when they start up, and they whine very high, 10,000, 11,000 RPM. Glorious sound. So they ended up winning. I think they came second overall, but it was next year where it would come handy. I think the first two races they didn't do so well. I remember when they raced at Sebring, they ended up having to play catch up. I think they were down. I don't think they did well at. They didn't do well at Sebring 2006 because Audi won with the R10, and then Audi brought the R8 back, and Porsche was like, "Oh, hey, we'll win," because Dyson has a new car. Dyson had the Lola 3.2 V8s with 650 horsepower. They were blazingly fast in qualifying, but they really couldn't convert into race speed. Porsche ended up running all over them till some problems ended the day for one car, and I think one car ended further back. I think one car made its way back up, but it finished second to the R8 after it had to climb back up. So, and then it got its first overall win at Mid-Ohio, so it broke through. Then after that, they went to Lime Rock after Le Mans, and that's when the R10 came in. It started steamrolling everybody, and the RS Spyder did not win another race, even though it won its class a bunch of times, and it won the LMP2 class, which was great. Penske got another championship. I think it was it was his first ALMS title, and it was his first ALMS championship. I remember, though, 2007 was probably going to be the most interesting. The RS Spyder in 2007 got direct injection, and this sort of kind of lit the world on fire for Audi, because Audi was looking to dominate. It didn't go that way. I remember they won at Sebring, and then they won at St. Pete, and then they won at and then they had one in at Long Beach. But I think it was after Lime Rock and stuff like that they really started going downhill. And then they went, I think they won at Long Beach. And after that, they really didn't give up their winning ways. I think they won 6 in a row or something like that. They won at Long Beach. They won at Lime Rock, Mosport, and a bunch of other places. And I think they won at Belle Isle because Belle Isle was starting. Belle Isle became a race, and then in Mosport, Audi looked to have started to win, but their gearbox ended up breaking and got stuck in 4th, I think. And they headed to Detroit. They won again. They lost again. Petit Le Mans and Laguna Seca, they ended up winning by the hairs of their chins because the R10 was just really good on tracks like that. And it wasn't a very, point and shoot track for Laguna Seca, and the tires on the R10s were better, even though Audi, I think Porsche, the RS Spyders again, using the weight and that fuel efficiency to win. And it seemed that with the longer the races with the new fuel injection, the better the car was. 2008 wasn't so much of a big year because Acura was starting to come into their own. Acura won like 3-4 races. I remember watching Lime Rock. For those of you who don't know, Lime Rock is the one where Timo Bernard spun when David Brabham took the crown, took the LMP2 and the overall crown for Acura again. I think they won like 2 or 3 times overall, although they lost the championship by 1 point because Brabham crashed out. Oh no, Scott Sharp crashed out like in the second hour of the Petit Le Mans. They really couldn't regain it at Laguna Seca, and that sucked. But the reason why the RS Spyder was such an amazing, from that competitive history, you're asking is why was the RS Spyder so good? Well, first of all, the aerodynamics were amazing. The engine was a gem, and the direct injection made the acceleration P1 level. Like, this thing could get some decent jumps on the straightaways, as long as the only tracks that really suffered at was at the high elevation tracks. So like in Utah in 07 and 08, it really gasped for air while the Audis were able to just steam away. And then John Field with his AR Lola was able to steam past everybody. That was that. They had good aerodynamics, great team, great fuel efficiency. I remember they won a bunch of the long distance races on fuel efficiency. Sebring was one, in a way, was one just staying out of trouble and having good fuel efficiency and watching Audi and Peugeot. The only time an RS Spyder defeated the 2 top European teams at the biggest race. So yeah, I definitely think it's cool. For those of you who want to, but I didn't really think that these cars would really have any bad stuff, because Penske is known for his engineering, and he's known for his engineering, and he's known for his ability to just do well with stuff like that. And the RS Spyder and the 91730 were great cars. They had many wins between the two of them. It was able to it did the job of defeating the big boys in their respective classes. McLaren began beaten by the 91730, and then the RS Spyder downing the big LMP1 cars in its era. The Porsche RS Spyder was ballistically fast in Australia. I think at the end of its existence, I think the fastest it got on an American track was Petit Le Mans, 183.5 miles an hour. I think it was like 184. And I think it was able to do 195, 196 at Le Mans when they brought it over. So these cars were very special, and they were very well tuned, and they did very well in their respective championships. Penske is, and that's the reason why he has 499 wins to his name, including IndyCar, sports car, NASCAR. He just won the Daytona 500. He just won the Daytona 500 for the third time. So really, actually last month. And I'm not expecting, and I didn't expect any less from a guy who had built his own engines for his Indy cars, and had the pushrod 500i, and Porsche 917s that could go 240 miles an hour. These were great great cars. We're never going to see cars like this ever again because the technical regulations suck. Maybe with the new hypercars we may see this. The LMDH, the hypercars will see this. But it remains to be seen if they can do all that. That his newest project, there's no official name for it just yet. But as a 4-liter twin-turbo V8, I think it's based off the Porsche Cayenne. It's probably going to have, I don't know, 690 horsepower or something like that. So it's not going to have like a million like they used to. But I do expect Penske to do well in his LMP2 effort, so he can get a gist of what he's up against, and maybe some strategy, maybe some race running. Maybe he can outduel those cars and win 1,000 miles, and maybe win his class to 1,000 miles of Sebring next week. After I think they're running that Sunday after the 12 hours. So yeah, that's my story on everything. And yeah, that 500i Mercedes-Benz engine, that's actually going to be the story and the topic for next week. I'm going to tell you guys the full story next week. I think it's probably going to be episode 303 is tomorrow, 304 is Monday, 305 is Wednesday, 306 is Friday. So 307 is going to be Gear Change Show. So I'm going to tell you guys about the beast. I'm going to keep this whole Penske domination thing going on. So I'm going to do a whole Penske thing since in celebration that he's got a new LMDH effort going on right now. So, and he's currently back in the WEC in World Sports Cars. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to see you guys later. So I will see you guys. The next Gear Change Show will be Saturday, 17th. 16th to the 17th. Yes, I think it's the 16th to the 17th. So actually, no, 19th. It's going to be 18th. It's going to be next Saturday. I'll let you guys know when it gets closer. But yeah, I am going to record some some Fanacom Detective Club tomorrow. The Girl Stands Behind, and then I'll release that Tuesday, and then I'll release vlogs hopefully when my phone's up to snuff and everything like that. I also might do speaking of anime and stuff like that, I actually asked Ariel, she saw Weathering with You, the anime movie, and she hasn't, so I'm gonna probably let her watch it, and then she's probably gonna get back to me on that. But so I haven't. We've been wanting to talk the last couple of weeks, but we've been busy. So so that's something. So so yeah, everything's all peachy. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. So next Saturday will be the Tale of the Beast, 500i pushrod Mercedes turbo Panzer engine that dominated the 94 Indy 500. So I'll have to read the book again and surf over the chapters because I read the book like 5 times. That's how great the book is. It's kind of a mechanic aficionado / automotive junkie's dream to read this book. So, and it's definitely worth reading 260 pages worth. So so yeah, I'll tell you guys that story on Thursday. I'll outline a bunch of stuff, and then I'll tell you guys the story. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing engine, and it's just amazing how it is. That will probably be half an hour. That'll probably maybe 30 minutes, 30, maybe 45 minutes. So I'll have to designate some time after I get out of the shower. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'm going to record 303 tomorrow, 304 on Monday. If the booster shop doesn't screw me up first, but I will see you guys later, and I will talk to you guys in a regular vlog later. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is the story of the Porsche 91730 and the Porsche RS Spyder. The guys, the 2 cars that exploited every rule it could and did it legally. So hooray for Penske. And I thought I'd celebrate it because he's just won the Daytona 500 and he's starting a sports car division. And I think he's taking part in 1,000 Miles of Sebring next week. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out. And my audio actually didn't fault this time, so I'll be seeing you guys later. Peace. Oh yeah, by the way, pray for all my friends. Let them all stay strong and all the spirits out there, and support to Ukraine. Hopefully they can kick the Russians' ass out of Ukraine and out of the major cities so we can live our lives again, because this virus killing everybody out there. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.